Good morning. It's Tuesday, November 15th, and Joe Biden is in Bali, Indonesia, and he met with President Xi of China for over 3 hours, and that's their first meeting face-to-face since the president took office. And this meeting could have lots of ripple effects around the world. And Biden said, as leaders of our two nations, we share responsibilities. And in my view, to show that China and the United States can manage our differences and prevent competition from becoming anything ever nearing a conflict, and to find ways to work together on urgent global issues, we must have mutual cooperation. And the world expects us to do that. That's what Biden says. So Biden is over there in Bali, and his image to the world is one of conciliation, one of working together. Let us not be adversaries. Let's China and the United States, let's not be adversaries. Now let's look at how China got to this spot. China didn't create all the industries and everything that they are involved in right now. The United States provided them with a foothold in the economic world. The United States sent much of its production and much of its need for manpower over to China. And China was smart enough to take it and use those jobs to improve the living conditions of its people better, to make them better for the Chinese people. So China had a vested interest in working with the United States. But I believe over the years they have become extremely independent. They really don't need the United States that much anymore. They need us a lot, but they don't need us that much that they're willing to break their ties with nations like Russia and North Korea. And Xi's words at the meeting with Biden were not really conciliatory. He said a statesman should think about and know where to lead his country. He should also think about and know how to get along with other countries in the wider world. So was Xi chastising Biden for the positions that the United States has taken recently with respect to China and the way they do business? And especially with respect to China and the situation over Taiwan. No, I think it was good that they met, and it's good that they got these things off their chests. But let's recognize that Xi's not going to give the U.S. anything that doesn't benefit China. And while they may change some of the rules in their economic spheres, the political sphere is an entirely other animal. So don't expect that this meeting between China and the United States is going to have any effect on the relationship that China has with the nations that it considers important to itself. And let's not forget the position that the United States finds itself in. And let's also remember that we, the United States, created the monster that China is now. The United States right now imports more from China than from any other country. China is one of the largest export markets for U.S. goods and services. And this trade has helped the United States in the form of lower prices for its consumers and almost monumental profits for the U.S. corporations. But this has come with a tremendous cost to the United States. Why were there costs? Well, look at this. The U.S. consumer benefited from the flood of cheaper goods from China. But millions of Americans lost their jobs due to the import competition. The United States has long accused China of pressuring American companies to hand over their technology, or China stole it outright. The optimism that accompanied China's entry into the World Trade Organization 20 years ago vanished as Beijing has embraced the state-led development pouring subsidies into targeted industries to the detriment of the U.S. and foreign companies. So when you look at this closely, the Chinese clearly outsmarted us. Our search for cheap labor and monumental profits has driven this country into a terrible, terrible import situation with China. Now, this situation didn't happen overnight. It started back in 1979 when China realized that they could do the things that they managed to do. See, China had a long-term vision, unlike the United States, whose vision is always short. And maybe that's because of our election cycles. I have no reason to understand why the United States can't take a good long look at the future. Because that's what China did. They took a long look and they realized that if they started slowly and started importing companies and started helping companies around the world, because they had 1 billion people to put to work, then they could manage to grow their own technological advancements and figure out how to become the world power that they have become. And you know what? We didn't listen to a lot of the segments of our own society that recognized some of the issues that might occur between the U.S. and China. In particular, we ignored the opinions of our labor unions, who saw their workers disappearing because of the foolishness that our corporation entered into. So this is not a one-sided thing where the government screwed up. There were screw-ups up and down the line in the United States that allowed China to become the world power that it has become. And now we must suffer the consequences. We have to deal with China in a way that profits not only the United States, but also profits China. And that's a tough situation for us to be in, because demanding certain human rights and other things that we are sure that the Chinese are violating can't be done when you are beholden to them for a lot of the jobs and a lot of the money that does exist in the United States. So this is a very tenuous position. There are many that are on the side of China. And so I think this relationship is going to be peaceful but rocked. Take care.